Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Joel Rosen. I am an adrenal fatigue recovery ninja, and I want to welcome you back to another edition of your Adrenal Fix. Today I want to talk to you about adrenal fatigue and anxiety. I'm getting a lot of questions on Facebook, on my Facebook page of adrenal fatigue recovery, and I'm finding that the questions are, what does adrenal fatigue have to do with anxiety? I'm fatigued, I'm tired, I don't bounce back like I used to. Stress impacts me a little bit more than it used to in terms of I get more anxious. And so really what I want to do is I want to talk to you about the relationships. The first thing I want to talk to you is think of the adrenal glands as the clutch to a vehicle that's a standard automatic manual car that you have to switch from one gear to the next. That's what the adrenals are. They're the clutch of your body. And so when you have to shift from one stress to the next stress, you have to have a nice smooth transition. And if those adrenals begin to burn out, then you're going to have more of a jerky ride and you're not going to handle stress as well. And that can translate into anxiety. So the first thing I want to talk to you is the fight or flight mechanism. Our body is designed to maintain homeostasis. And so when we get stressors can be things like, psychosocial stuff like bills and taxes and spousal relationships and children and parents and jobs and bosses. All of that's going to put you in a fight or flight mechanism where you're going to be in a sympathetic mode. And our body needs to control the environmental impact on us so that we don't have uncontrolled blood pressure, we don't hyperventilate, our pulse keeps normal, our body temperature keeps normal, and that requires a lot of energy to do that. And so when we're constantly in a fight or flight mechanism, a sympathetic mechanism, our adrenaline, our adrenal glands, all of these things end up being stimulated over and over and over again to the point where we start to deplete resources. And that's why I have adrenaline. And these stimulatory neurotransmitters are called catecholamines. And these catecholamines can ultimately start to wear down and start to not be manufactured appropriately and not be broken down appropriately. And that's why we'll do a genetic test, because a lot of people have the genetic predisposition for not making and breaking down these catecholamines effectively. So when they have the double whammy of having stressors in the life combined with a genetic predisposition for not handling it, it creates that perfect storm of anxiety. The next thing I wanted to talk to you about is blood sugar. Blood sugar by far the most most variable component that will impact our impact our adrenals on a day-to-day basis. We call it dysglycemia. So it's that roller coaster ride of missing breakfast, feeling nauseated, and waking up in the morning, and the last thing you want to do is have a breakfast. Maybe having a breakfast, but then not eating something until say 3 o'clock. In the afternoon. The breakfast may be very stimulatory. It has buns and danishes and breads and bagels and orange juice, and it causes just too much of a spike of our blood sugar. And then what happens is insulin is released, our blood sugar falls, and so it's constantly going up and down. And when that happens, that's going to impact your adrenals, that's going to impact your catecholamines. You're not going to be able to make them and break them very well, and then all of a sudden that stressful day is a jerky ride and you're all anxious and you're not doing great. And then lastly, obviously, it impacts your adrenals. If your adrenals are burnt out, they're not going to balance your blood sugar very well either, and that clutch is going to be broken. So that's one of the relationships with adrenal fatigue and anxiety. We do 4 tests that can tell us how we're doing in this area. The first one is a DNA test, so 23andMe. That will tell us about methylation. A lot of you have heard of MTHFR, but there's other important genes way downstream like COMT, or PNMT or MAO or SALT1A. All of these enzymes tell us how well do we make neurotransmitters and how well do we break them. And one good way of knowing if you're not doing a good job is if you have a stressor, like if you see a police car behind you and it's waving its sirens and you all of a sudden get really, really anxious, and then you see that police car go by you to go apprehend someone else, you're still really, really anxious, and your heart rate is elevated, your blood pressure is elevated, and it takes you a good amount of time to bring that back to baseline. That is a good idea to do a DNA test to see what's going on there. Another test we do is an organic acid test. This is a urine test, and we look at candida yeast overgrowth in the gut. We look at your neurotransmitters. We look at nutritional deficiencies, and that gives us a good idea on what's going on with your body. Of course, the CBC and the CMP, looking at your glucose, your hemoglobin A1C, insulin levels, those are really, really important starting points so that we can get an idea as to how that is impacting your anxiety levels. And then, of course, doing an adrenal test. We like to do the urine test where it looks at 4 different readings throughout the day. It looks at dinner time, bedtime, when you first wake up, and 2 hours later. And that tells us about the metabolites: cortisol, free cortisol, metabolized cortisol, estrogens, 8 different kinds, testosterone, DHEA. It tells us all about how the stress and the catecholamines and the adrenaline is impacting your hormones. And then we also like to do the saliva samples. I'm starting to do those together because the saliva samples really tell us very, very nicely how your circadian rhythms are doing. Are they nice and strong in the morning and then weak at the evening, or is it reversed, or does it crash? And so we can really get a lot of information on that. So anyways, my name is Dr. Joel Rosen. I hope you enjoyed this edition of your Adrenal Fix. Be sure to give me a thumbs up, a share, a like, a comment, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel where I have a lot more videos. I have a blog at adrenalfatiguesociety.com. You can opt in and get my newsletter, and check me out on Facebook. I have a Facebook page called Adrenal Fatigue Recovery, and basically I look forward to helping you with your adrenal fatigue nightmare. Thank you so much.